back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Dreaming on. The little Mama Cass Elliott there. It's Boomer Life on CIL 650. The sleep solution experts, Dave Temlett and Terry Harder from Innovative Sleep Solutions, are with us in studio this morning on the program. You know, guys, I have to ask you this question because, you know, I get on the Google machine before we do a program, and I like to look up some of those sleep things, and you go to these sleep sites, and there's no shortage of information on the internet when you want to find out about sleep, information about sleeping habits, the relationship between a good night's sleep and good health. That goes on for days. And then you go to these places, and there are all sorts of lists. The American Sleep Foundation, very good website, very thick website. But, and then they have their lists of these are the top 10 things we recommend to help you get a good night's sleep. And they'll say things like, do the same routine every day and have the lights low and don't put the music on and no TV in the bed. Everybody's got their own list. But nobody has at the top spot on their list, get a decent mattress. For openers, Dave. I mean, all the tips in the world, but the most obvious one, the one as plain as the nose on your face, is never included, Terry. They never say, start by getting a really good mattress.
That's unbelievable.
What's wrong with these people?
I don't know. That's they're not getting enough sleep, Sterling.
I guess it must be sleep deprivation that's getting these list makers confused.
Exactly.
Because you would think that would be the most obvious recommendation, and yet for whatever reason they just seem to scoot past that one. When you two were putting the business model together, Dave, you told us the Innovative Sleep story when we began. One of the things that struck me, because you keep repeating this in your many visits so far with us, is the importance you and Terry placed right from the beginning on sourcing as much British Columbia or even Vancouver-made quality products as you could. Why is it so important to the two of you to, wherever possible, use Canadian or, even more importantly, British Columbia-made products?
Well, that's a great question. Large part, obviously we want to have everything available to us right here in town. So we're very involved in picking the products with the manufacturer, obviously going in and picking the best products that suit our business for what we do. We don't bring in products from some of these suppliers that don't have the CertaPure foams or the ISO 9001 approved foams. They have to have the certification that follows in suit with what we want, the healthiest products, the best supporting mattresses. We only carry foam, latex, and pocket coils. We don't carry any other type of coil spring in our lineup whatsoever. Okay. So the pocket coil is the best supporting product, and pretty much everybody out in the marketplace is offering a version of the pocket coil, and we really have narrowed it down to buy them from Simmons, Restonic, and Certa. And those really are the best pocket coil springs in the marketplace. Okay. That said, then next to that, we'll have the healthiest foams. Some of them will put latex on these pocket springs, which they refer to as a hybrid. Some of them will have a couple of different types of foams that can be put on top of them as well. So that you're going to get the support from the coil spring underneath with the appropriate comfort on top. But the great thing is that these foams are not going to be emitting chemicals and off gases. Right. Where you have your face close to it for 8 hours a night, you're not breathing in all those sort of chemicals. So, a little by design, it's a little different as far as local suppliers. Obviously, the shipping costs are a big part of it.
Of course, well, that gets us. That's a saving. If you're only bringing something in from Burnaby instead of Halifax, chances are it's going to cost the customer less when they go to buy it.
Well,
right?
Of course, and if there's a shipping cost involved, that has to go towards the overall cost of the product.
Sure.
And then, of course, the retailer has to put a markup on that cost as well. So, by design, we try to deal as much as we can with local suppliers, with the exception of really the only one that's not is Tempur-Pedic. They come up out of the United States,
Right.
And now with the Canadian dollar where it's at, they're not as popular as they once were. We've got similar products that are made locally that are just as good, and you're not paying the freight cost on that.
That's a very interesting point, Terry, that Dave just made about the Canadian dollar, because, I spent a little bit, as you two have had your summer vacation moments recently, I spent a little bit of time down south of the line. Of course, took a bath on my money. I went down to a ball game, went, what? But if you're relying on primarily foreign-based stock, then as a Canadian consumer, it's going to cost more. Whereas if you're relying on stock provided by and coming from Canadian manufacturers, those numbers are a lot more predictable and, I suppose from a consumer perspective, safer, because you're not going to have to add 25% because the currency's taken a whack this week.
Absolutely, although, of course, a big part of that is quite often these manufacturers do get a lot of their components from down there, but they buy much bigger quantities, so therefore they can get an advantage before the exchange actually starts to go up, and then they have that stock to continue making beds, so it buys you some time to at least get some better prices and hope the dollar somehow miraculously starts to go the other way, which it doesn't look like now, but we'll hope.
But, for having made that smart decision a couple of years ago to rely on primarily Canadian-made and even British Columbia-made products, I know when the dollar does go on that roller coaster ride, it doesn't affect you half as much as some of your competitors.
Well, not to the same extent, that's for sure. The other advantage of dealing locally is if we have a customer that needs something right away, we just phone the factory and give them a call, and if we have to run down there and pick it up rather than wait for them to deliver it to us, we have that luxury as well. As where Sealy, for example, comes out of Edmonton. Well, unfortunately, you're looking at about a week to 10 days to get anything coming out of Edmonton.
Right.
And so compared to a local supplier, usually we can get it within 2 or 3 days, and sometimes even the same day.
Okay. So just being able to serve the customer more promptly, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
And about those custom jobs, and we're going to get Terry to do the latex chat here in a couple of seconds. But while we're talking in terms of things you can do because you have terrific relationships and arrangements with local producers, if you can handle the boat and the RV crowd with no problem at all.
Oh, sure.
Because they need, a custom-made mattress to fit that cabin here, and it's got to go there, and I've got to replace it. The RV's fine, but the mattress is shot. Can you give me a new mattress? No problem, right?
Yeah, it has to have a corner cut off, or it needs to be rounded in this part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We do it all the time.
Now, Terry, it's time for the official latex chat, and this is exclusively Terry's kind. He just lights up
Sterling.
like a neon sign. But we need to know this if we're going to. I think because we don't shop for our sleep needs very often, a lot of stuff can happen in the time that you went out to buy your last bed. The technology of the industry may have changed so much that by the time you go out looking for new stuff, there are items in the showroom that you simply don't recognize because, well, this is new, and where did that come from, and what's that made of? Well, that's latex. And what's that made of? Well, that's foam. Well, what's the difference? Over to you, Terry.
Thanks for the questions, Sterling. And the big thing about latex is it's not a petrochemical product as compared to foam. Obviously, foam is from a barrel of oil. It's petrochemical, whereas latex is from the rubber tree. It's natural. And the big thing for us is that our aim, or our mission statement, we could almost say, is we're striving to sell you the healthiest mattress in the marketplace today. And part of that is when people come in for organic latex, they want to know, well, what does that mean? Well, that means that the rubber tree's been growing in soil that for 6 years they've depleted and leached all the chemicals and pesticides and so on out of the soil before they plant the rubber tree. And then from there, it's a very natural process in extracting the rubber from the tree, so hence you've got very close to 100% natural latex. And then from there, latex actually meets every one of our better sleep needs. It actually breathes better than every product in the market. It reduces pressure points. A big word is hysteresis, less motion transfer. They have also done pressure mapping of orthopedically correct support on latex. Our organic Dunlop latex actually has 4.5 or 6 pounds of pure virgin wool in a king. So it really regulates body temperature. So that product is probably something that everyone should take the time to look at and see what sort of sleep benefits they can get from it.
So this is the organic latex. Now it sounds, and the plant itself hasn't been, no interference with any chemicals for 6 years. So it really is clean, if you know what I mean, in terms of chemicals content. So it practically has zero, right? And so they where are these plantations, Terry? Where?
Sri Lanka, and also it goes through the strictest testing in the world, and we've talked about it other times, and that's not just that we know, it's in the world. They test it for hardness, they test it for height retention, loss to resiliency. So if people are coming in trying to purchase a product which won't sag, latex is the product you should be considering. It's really very, very resilient. We have a higher IFD latex in the center of the bed, so you're going to get extra lumbar support, but the mattress is typically not going to sag. It actually has an average lifespan of 30 years, which is really unheard of in the marketplace today.
Okay.
There's only 2 latex manufacturers in the world that actually manufacture 100% certified organic. As Terry mentioned, one's in Sri Lanka, the other one is in India.
Okay.
And
these testing, this is another, and Terry, you mentioned it, and I think I need to stop and do it one more, even because we've talked about it before. You said that. The testing that goes on this product happens on an annual basis. This isn't a test that was done in 2008, and so they're still putting that ticket, yeah, we passed the test. This was done in 2015. There'll be more testing done in 2016, and they won't be certified until the testing is done and they're proven to have passed.
That's correct.
Absolutely. Every sort of test that can be done on that latex is done on the organic latex. It's literally every third-party certification that is available today is on that product.
So if it comes from India or Sri Lanka, Dave, and where does the actual transformation of the rubber from the tree into that synthetic product that forms a mattress, where does that get done? In that country of origin where it's farmed?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then what they do is they bale them. They compress them right down flat, taking all the air out of them. Then they're shipped overseas in container loads, and then the beds are actually assembled right on Annacis Island in Delta.
Oh, okay.
By Rennell. Rennell has been in business for 30 years, so that's what they specialize in. They are very, very aggressively priced. They have the best product, in my view, for the dollar. And nobody can come close to them. We've got a great selection of the latex products on the floor from Rennell, probably 7 or 8 different mattresses. So I would certainly encourage the listener to come into the showroom and have a serious look at them.
Or better still, and much more fun, have a serious lie down on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my favorite sport when I go to the store. Oh, a new one. Can I try that one? Sure, Sterling. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Well, and latex does have a little bit of a get used to, and what I mean by that is, it's got a little bit of a bounce to it. It is rubber, so naturally it does have a bit of a bounce to it.
Right, but it's not like sleeping on a lacrosse ball or anything like that.
And it doesn't, even though there's a bounce when you first sit on the bed, it doesn't provide motion transfer from one person to the next.
Right.
Which is a huge asset for anybody that is with a wrestler or with a restless sleeper. As Terry mentioned, it retains its shape the best of any product out there. So you're not going to get excessive body impression on it. Terry and I were talking to the owner of the factory just a couple of days ago, and he has assured us that in the 30 years he's been there, he has not once taken a single latex mattress back due to a warranty concern.
Interesting.
Since he's been in business. So that's 0 warranty claims.
Over 30 years.
Due to body impression, 0.
Interesting.
That is just virtually unheard of.
Wow. Terry, thanks for the latex portion of the chat. But you're not off the hook yet, sir. We need to take a quick break here, because then there's all these foam things, the other options that are available, and we need to help sleep shoppers understand what these terms mean, and then and only then can you make an informed decision. Our guests are the Sleep Solution experts, Dave Temlett and Terry Harder from Innovative Sleep Solutions, on the radio this morning on Boomer Life here on CIL 650, with lots more still ahead.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.